Alrighty, welcome to Saturday's edition of Zero Doctrine Live. This is basically a test. I'll tell you that up front. I've never done this before on a Saturday. I just recently started doing these, and they have gotten popular, at least in my world. I'm not a big company or anything like that. I'm just one guy with some administrative help and a lot of ingenuity from basically learning from the streets of being homeless for 16 years. Nothing I brag about necessarily, but I do cherish my lessons. I don't cherish what I went through, but I do cherish the lessons I've learned from a rough life. I didn't have a childhood, and I'm not saying that for you to feel sorry for me or anything like that. It's just, it is what it is. I'm a happy married man with children. Been married for 30 years now. Have 8 beautiful children by the same wife. We've been in love, and we fought and scratched, and kicked, but we hung in there. I just turned 59, and I am forever grateful for everything in my life right now. I can't say that I liked everything, but I am forever grateful. One of the things that I have a vision for is doing my part to protect the nation. I did my part in the Marine Corps. I served up 4 years. I started this line of my life of national security and critical infrastructure and defense at Camp David when I was a young man, about 19 years old, with President Reagan up at Camp David. And I got a fascination for national security, protecting national secrets, protecting the president, what have you. But anyway, I wanted to come at you guys a little bit differently. And I don't know if this will work. We'll see how it goes. You guys will tell me if you liked it or not. I plan on going 2 hours. It may not last 2 hours, but there's 7 stories that caught my attention. And you know, uh, technology right now is like candy, and not the kind of candy that gives you a sugar rush. The other kind of candy that you can't talk about around kids. Now, I've never enjoyed that type of candy. To those who have, I don't judge you. Um, that's your thing. But when anything becomes addictive, I mean, I even have to watch myself with with this social media and these broadcasts. I've never spent this much time on social media, but it's just easy. It's just easy for me to post something, to do a live stream, to do a video. They have all these AI tools now. I can just script the video that I want. I can tell AI what I want, and it gives me, I mean, I have had my battles with AI. I'm not the biggest fan of AI, but I do use it, and I do have a concept that I came up with 30 years ago that would be close to AI. I call it AI. It's AegisAI. It's not the large language models that you're used to, but and we'll get into that. And if anything that I say here today sparks your interest, please reach out to me at Manny, MANNY, at ManuelWLloyd.com. That's Manny, MANNY, at MANUEL. Oh, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. At ManuelWLLOYD.com. And you can find me anywhere on social media now, just at ManuelWLloyd.com. And ask for a complimentary doctrinal briefing, and I'll give you the rundown. There are paid briefings as well. They cost $1,500 for the basic one, and they go up from there. And you might ask, why that much? Because this is not a product. This is not a service. This is a doctrine, and it's a way of doing things. As I tell the story, And I even have on my LinkedIn banner there the story of how I got here is a nightmare that I had when I was able to get onto a government server. Um, they gave me the permissions to get on their server. It was public facing information, so to speak. And I saw that I could see the file structure without any kind of uh, restrictions. I mean, no restrictions. That was a major flaw that if I was nefarious, I could have done something to the national government. Okay. And so I woke up in cold sweats, literally. This is not a figurative uh, story here. This has actually happened. I woke up in cold sweats. Not that I'm super patriotic, but I have been around national security apparatus and targets that it made me wonder. And I even had to call a buddy who was a Navy corpsman to say, "Hey, man, there's something wrong with me. I can't sleep. I have these hives. I'm in cold sweats." And he just laughed at me and just said, "You had a bad dream," And it was a bad dream, but it scared me. And the thing about it is I still remember what that feels like. I still have that emotion in me that I can draw up, and it's interesting. But anyway, so I started journeying on this. I wrote down on napkins, on pieces of paper. I wrote a diagram. I even tried to get it patented with I forget who that patent company is, with the caveman and the wheel. Um, but I just didn't do it. And then I finally got along down the lines and tried to invent it. I tried to create a patent for it. And the name of it that I came up with was GECaBi, GECaBi, which stands for Government Education, Civil, and Business Interoperability. Because, and then when 911 hit, I said, "Wow, that's a horrible thing." But then when I looked at the details behind 911, how they weren't sharing information, not that they didn't want to, they just couldn't. There was no way for a collaborative national response. And so I thought, okay, I have to invent this thing. So again, I was afraid because I didn't know what that all entailed. Um, and I was just scary. I was just a scared uh, guy thinking, okay, what if somebody takes it, or what if the government? Because I understand that some inventions the government can actually take from you if it's in the interest of national security. Well, those were grandiose concerns when you look at it. No one wants to take anything from me. But anyway, when I did try to invent it, I worried about corporate greed at the same time. And with those patents, you have to reveal how it works. And I didn't want to do that. So I abandoned that, and then I transitioned or evolved into InterOpsis, and I made it into a doctrine. And then I codified it with my own cybersecurity constitution, and here we are today. So today we're going to talk about 7 stories that are in the news. One personal story I have with one of these organizations, the first story at least with DARPA, and then we're going to go from there and see how this works. And hopefully, this format will work. It is a Saturday where I'm at. It's 8:08, 8:09 a.m. Eastern, and I'm hoping this will work. So I'm doing this from my home. So if my wife or my kids come in the room, don't be bothered by that. Um, I want to be authentic and genuine with you. Excuse me. No need for me to put up a front. If you need that, then I'm the wrong guy. I just want to give you information to see if you're part of one of these organizations in the thread, at least in the vein, and you have something to do with this and how you can respond. So the first story I want to talk about is DARPA, and they had an AI challenge in the finals. Team Atlanta, I think, won. So AI systems at DEF CON autonomously found and patched large portions of injected vulnerabilities. 4 finalist tools released for public use, and Team Atlanta wins. So, with this story, um, I want to share with you that I worshipped DARPA. I worshipped them. I thought they were the greatest organization on the planet. They were the ones that came up with the internet, if you remember. It wasn't Al Gore. He may have had something to do with it, but ARPANET. They used to be called ARPA, and then they put the D in front of it, and they're DARPA. But I thought they were the greatest company in the organization in the world because they created an apparatus that allowed the world to communicate. I don't know if that's what their intention was, but that's what happened. And you know, I submitted my GECaBi idea to them, and quite honestly, it was probably discombobulated. Um, and um, I don't know. I am kind of butthurt, but I probably wasn't ready to present to them. So I tried it again, and I came up with InterOpsis. Well, I presented to them InterOpsis. I came up with InterOpsis before then, but one of my children said, "Daddy, you shouldn't give up on your dream. You should try again." And I was so disappointed and hurt, and I didn't know if I wanted to try again. Well, I did, and it was better. I felt like I was more ready, but in hindsight, I still don't think that I was as ready as I should have been, or as ready as I am now. So anyway, they had this competition. Let me get rid of this screen here and get the slide up. They had this competition where these AI tools basically were trying to show how quickly they could resolve an issue. And oh, I'm told I have to read this. InterOpsis DNA, Stealth, TrustNet, AegisAI, Revive, Laws, etc. are all proprietary innovations of Manuel W. Lloyd. That's me, if you didn't know. Unauthorized use is prohibited, and blah, 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 blah. Short version. So here's my agenda. I just told you my personal story. I think I wrapped that up, but they rejected InterOpsis as well. And again, I'm not the most eloquent person. I'm just a country boy from Mississippi. I like simple things: cornbread and collard greens, fatback, neck bones, peas and rice, black eyed peas specifically, or butter beans, the big old kind of butter beans. You know, them big ones? Those are the ones that I like the most. There's a country restaurant here that makes that food just like I like it. Catfish. I eat catfish for breakfast, and I know a lot of people just find it odd. But catfish and grits, man, some of the, with some extra dose of butter, something about it. Then top it off with some French toast. Some good eating, man. Anyway, I'm a simple guy, and I believe that the internet is more simple than it is complex, and that greed, corporate greed specifically, has hypnotized us that the internet is more valuable to us than it should be. And now we're going on that same journey with AI. Now, back in 1992, when I came up with this concept, I had something similar to AI, the architecture for it at least, and I called it MAPS: Managed Automated processing system. Never went anywhere because, again, I'm not eloquent. I do not know how to explain myself most times. I've been told my IQ is off the charts. I don't believe that. I don't believe in IQ. I believe people are people. Now, I'm quite sure there's some method to that, but if you look at the history of IQ, it was brought to life by some nefarious means. When I saw that, I was like, whoa, I definitely don't want to be associated with this. But as high as my IQ is, how come I can't communicate these ideas to people unless I pay somebody who knows the words to say, and I just tell them what I want and what I want to do, and I see people with looking at me with like deer staring in headlights and going, "Oh, that's amazing." Blah blah. It's just not that amazing to me. It's simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So that's my personal story with DARPA. We're going to get into these 7 stories. Then I'm going to show you how my doctrine maps to it. And then we'll have a Q&A. And I'm going to give you a call to action. Now, you cannot buy InterOpsis. And if you're a small to medium business, you probably won't qualify to deploy InterOpsis. InterOpsis is meant for national security and critical infrastructure. That's the only thing it's meant for. And like I was saying, this is me doing my part to try to help protect the country. My little bitty part. And I'm hoping that at some point, and I'm talking to and testing with some organizations, government level organizations. I won't mention their names because we're under NDA. But they find it fascinating. Now, some people find it very provocative and restrictive, but that's the whole point. And I'm going to get into these stories, but we have been using the internet now since, I don't know, the late 80s, maybe longer than that I didn't know about. But what has it matured to? SaaS? Cloud? So it went from this information superhighway to the World Wide Web, to the internet, to the net, to cloud. What other quirky marketing name are we going to give it? So cloud has many flavors: public cloud, private cloud, cloud to cloud, SaaS. Jesus Christ. I shouldn't say that. It might be offensive to some people, but man, oh man, woman, oh woman. I don't know. You can't say anything nowadays without offending somebody, but oh my goodness. I just have internet fatigue. Of course, the internet has uses. I'm using the internet now. You're listening to me on the internet. We have our websites on the internet information, but the internet should never, ever, ever be used for mission-facing tactics. Ever. Just imagine the stupidity of continuing to put public information at risk, top secret information at risk because of convenience. I had a client. Well, they're not really a client. We don't call them clients in my world. We call them sovereign doctrine partners. But I had an SDP or sovereign doctrine partner. They were moving their location. Big move. Huge organization. And you know the first thing that came out of their mouth and the agenda of what we needed to do? The first thing we need to do, they said, is make sure we have internet. Oh my God, I almost threw up in my mouth. That's how bad mission critical objectives to me, in my world, make me sick when the first words out of your mouth are, we need internet. You don't need the internet to function. I'm an old guy. I'm 59 going on 60. I remember the days of BBS, bulletin board systems, BBS, where these admins were sitting in their home and have a computer connected to a phone line, a POTS line that you can dial into and communicate. And that was the first social media that I can recall. It may have been some others, but online social media. It didn't use the internet. It uses a copper wire. And isn't it strange that recently the government got rid of copper wire in lieu of, well, we have the internet. You have got to see, and you will only hear me talk about how the internet is the most toxic drug. And it's really not the internet more so than it is convenience, which is the poorest reason, maybe. At least it is a poor reason for lack of security. Anyway, so DARPA rejected both my submissions. And I was down the first time. I really was down. I didn't do anything for months because I thought, well, maybe there's nothing to this. And the more and more I saw stories of breaches at the nation state level, I'm not talking about your local sub shop or anything like that. God forbid that anyone should get breached, especially a small business, because they can't afford it. I mean, the average breach costs about $5 million, and most insurance on those businesses are just about that or right under that. They don't have a lot of insurance money to pay for these things. There was this big swell of, what do you call it, cybersecurity insurance. And then there was this confusion between, is that business continuity insurance or is it cybersecurity insurance? Which one is it? And that game didn't play out too well because, small businesses, those people are sharp. You talk about, if you want to go with IQ, high IQs, 25, 30 million small businesses, they are some sharp people, man. I just can't imagine starting a Subway or a Jimmy John's or a local grocery store that been around for 20. I just can't imagine that. It has to take more than skill. So kudos to small businesses. But I'm talking about national infrastructure, critical infrastructure, national defense. So I was rejected. And then my oldest son said, hey, Daddy, what happened with that? And I said, well, they rejected it. So I'm just going to give up. Must not mean it. I couldn't remember. I worshiped DARPA. I thought they were the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he said, you shouldn't give up on your dreams. And I thought about it for about 3 months, maybe longer. I can't remember, maybe shorter. I don't know. But I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. So I began to put my doctrine together, began to codify it, began to streamline it, and I submitted InterOpsis. I said, surely they can't reject this. And they did. They did. But that strengthened me even more because I said, you know what? I'll let this go. So I started creating my doctrine. And one thing I must say, I learned that there's a difference between tools and doctrine. There's a big difference between tools and doctrine. Lesson 1, a tool is not a doctrine. The first time, I brought them innovation. The second time, I brought them sovereignty, and they rejected sovereignty. And that's the first lesson I learned. The second lesson I learned was that the internet is a honeypot. You know what they said to me? Because I was speaking to them, submitting abstracts, chatting, email, phone calls for about 2 years. And one of the things they said to me, I won't say the gentleman's name, but he was a very nice man, Dr. somebody or another. I know what his name is. I just won't say it because I don't even know if he's still there. Um, Everything's getting so politicized and polarized nowadays. You just never know who's going to be in charge of something or be the acting quote unquote director. But he said to me, listen, we don't want another new internet project. If only he knew how much I hated the internet. And I relayed that to him. And I think that threw him off because every other vendor that submitted an abstract talked about how to make the internet better. You cannot. You can quote me on this. You cannot make the current internet better. You just can't. And if you make up a new internet, it won't be any better. So long as it's public facing, it won't be secure. That was the biggest lie. One of the biggest lies ever told is that the term secure over the internet. No such thing ever. Ever. If there were, I can't even count the number of breaches that we wouldn't have. And then the third lesson is, well, the second lesson I was saying, the internet is the honeypot. Real operations must run in sovereign enclaves. And then the third lesson is governance first, technology second. We make technology first and governance second. It's backwards. Anyway, let's talk about my primer for my doctrine. Zero Doctrine is about sovereign grade segmentation. Again, I'm a simple guy. Segmentation. Now, network teams and IT teams and companies talk about VLANs and DMZs and all of this. But yet, at the top of their cloud, if you go to a meeting and a network engineer or IT person or company representative draws out a network, what's at the top of the network? What's the cloud at the top of the network? The internet. Always. Always. And that's my family waking up. We have a company, or not a company, listen to me, a family chat that we text each other on in that chat. That's how we stay together. There's 10 of us in the family, so we got a big family. Anyway, that's the top of the food chain is the internet. And again, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth when you think about how toxic the internet is, and it's at the top of your food chain. Then you usually have your firewall, your core access and distribution layers, and then your servers and your routers and your cabling and all of that good jazz. But at the top of the food chain, that internet is more important. And listen, one of the reasons why I say you can't ever change or fix the internet is that you don't own it. You own everything below that. The firewalls, the routers, the switches, the concentrators. But you don't own the fiber under the ground. You don't own the internet. You don't own any of that. So there's no way you can say you're sovereign. Absolutely no way. And doctrine is about sovereign grade segmentation. I have something called the multi-net security framework. And I am going to get into these stories, but I need to set this stage. The multi-net security framework divides networks into 6 different segments. There's critical infrastructure net, government net, business net, AI net, dark net, and then, yes, your public internet, your darling. So that's 6. So we got CI net, GovNet, BizNet, AI net, dark net, and public internet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Then I have all these protocols. I have about 30 protocols that I've put together, that I've architected. My legal team is telling me how to speak so I don't lose any of my trademarks or pending trademarks. So these protocols like DNA or data nexus assignment or stealth, which is basically a data center that's segmented, TrustNet, they all enforce zero internet, zero exposure, and zero cross-contamination. There are no cascading breaches that could get through my system. Now, when people hear zero internet, they usually go into shock almost. They look like they're going into shock. Doesn't mean no internet. It just means repurposing the internet. Zero internet meaning zero internet for mission facing. It should be used as a decoy. Remember I said the internet, in my mind, is a honeypot, the best honeypot you can have, because everybody's going to come there. Why would you let someone inside your network purposely to monitor their activity and think, well, it can't hurt? Stop them right there at the internet. Every asset on the internet is a decoy. Should be. That's the way I look at it. So DARPA and their AI cyber challenge produced impressive AI tools and patched vulnerabilities. It was impressive. I still have an affinity for DARPA, but they're deploying them on public platforms. Good for the common, but risky for the sovereign. Good for the small business, for the medium-sized business, for any business that's not sovereign, national security, critical infrastructure. And in my Zero Doctrine, AI lives in AI net and stealth enclaves. They are segmented. There's no way to take down operations. There's 6 different enclave types, and I'll try to get into that. But there's 7 different enclave types. And the biggest one, obviously, or the biggest 2, I would say, number 1 is command enclave, and number 2 is mission enclave or operations enclave. So the day-to-day stuff that you do, and then of course your main mission. Your main mission should be number 1. Excuse me. This weather here in North Carolina has just gotten crazy. I swear it's just gotten crazy. I've never been this allergy ridden this late in the year. Whether it's climate change or just whatever, it doesn't matter to me what you call it. I just don't like it. So these AI tools were impressive. They really, really were. I mean, but like I said, they're good for the common business, even some Fortune 500s. But to the Fortune 500s that are quote unquote too big to fail, they involve economic collapse, You can't afford that. Go ahead and try, and you'll be in the headlines. I can guarantee it. People take risks, and I even hate to bring up any scenarios or stories that have happened because they ended up pretty bad, even death. No one should die over this nonsense. But that's how serious it is. I ran my cybersecurity firm for about 30 years, and I was an MSP. I sold security, and I just never, but I always had conflicts with the internet. Always. I've always had conflicts since that nightmare I had with that government server that I was able to get to legally. They gave me credentials. I had one client that was in the banking industry. They had created a niche and became big. They went from a 25-person operation to a 5,000-person operation with their software. And one of the things they wanted me to do is to help them go 100% cloud, and I refused. And that's where our relationship ended. Yeah, I lost a lot of money, but I slept at night because me knowing that banks could be infiltrated by going 100% cloud was something I couldn't live with. Money be damned. Money comes and goes. If your relationship with your vendor is all about money, you don't have a relationship. And that's fine with some people. It's just not fine with me. And I'm not saying I'm this great angelic being, patriotic, so and so. That's just the way my conscience works. So that DARPA cyber challenge, it produced some impressive work, but it's not for national security and critical infrastructure. It just isn't. I'm sorry, DARPA, if you're listening, if anyone's listening, Dr. So-and-so, if you're listening, I'm just trying to tell you, I presented to you what will work, and that's sovereign grade cybersecurity for national defense and critical infrastructure, not for commercial businesses who have nothing to do with that. I was asked one time, would I come up with something for that? And it just would be too restrictive. I don't think a business that's not critical infrastructure or national security base could withstand that. I really don't. So let's talk about my doctrinal mapping and AIXCC and doctrine to doctrine. My AI is called AegisAI, and it's our autonomous defender brain, if you will, or defense brain. DNA segments the data by mission. It ensures patches are mission specific. Each piece of data is tagged by mission, and each tag has a whole logic flow. TrustNet, our TrustNet governs AI model provenance, so adversaries can't train on our defense. Sorry, adversaries. I will make your life a living hell. And when I do have the permission, our system fights back and retaliates. Now, you can't, believe it or not, you have to almost get permission to retaliate with your AI or with your defense systems. Isn't that crazy? That is illegal in some nations. And I don't know about the United States, but I think that you have to be a government, you have to be a national security impact or a critical infrastructure impact. Something that's going to have the capability to destabilize our country. Mom and pop shop won't do that. but yet they can be attacked. I just don't like that. I think if you look on my website or you look online, I did a series called Big Brother versus Big Bully, and how Big Brother has gotten a bad rap. And what we're really afraid of, or should be afraid of, is the big bully, not the big brother. I'm a big brother in real life. I would never uh, bully my siblings. I would only love them and take care of them like I have in the past. But a big bully could care less. They just want your lunch money and to beat you up. So that would be an interesting story if you're into that kind of thing. And it's not just a story, it's the truth. I believe it's the truth. Big bully versus big brother. Big brother's not the problem. Big bully is. So let's move on. That's my DARPA concern. You know, I try to make sure I'm not being retaliatory toward them, because I still have admiration toward them, even though they rejected me twice. There's some animosity there, but I also am a uh, clear thinker when it comes to looking at AI, and the excitement for AI doing these things doesn't move me. It scares me, because unfortunately, I think that this whole DoD contract for $200 million to XAI is going to bite us in the ass hard. You got a guy, a genius, who's made an AI or runs an AI company, and all he posts about are scantily clad women, young women, girls even, on his other platform, Twitter, who argues with POTUS because he thought his $300 million could give him that much influence to tell a man like Donald Trump what to do. He really didn't know Donald Trump. And I'm not here for political debate or conversations. I did not vote for Harris or Trump. I've gotten tired of those politics, because I think they're both on the same side at the end of the day. And we're just sheep following blindly, fighting each other as they would have it. We need to wake up. That's a whole nother conversation I don't want to get into. But this AI went on an anti-Semitic rant. It's sexualizing and exploiting women, young girls even. This man is arguing with POTUS over childish things because his friend didn't get to be part of NASA or run NASA. And that may not be it. I don't know. I'm not in his head or Donald Trump's head. I wasn't part of the conversations. These are all assumptions. But the outcomes are wild. And if you look at this man right now, you'd have to think there's something wrong. Now you might say, well, what's Elon Musk got to do with it? Well, when your AI says, I'll have to defer to Elon on that, and you're saying we're going to put you in the Pentagon, yeah, he's got a lot to do with it. That's all I'll say on that. Speaking of the Pentagon, story 2, the DoD pulled back from conferences. What? So you don't want peer-to-peer conversations to happen at the Pentagon? They are in a vacuum and they know everything? The Pentagon's retreat from events like Black Hat and DEF CON cuts off vital intel flow. This is like unplugging a radio in the middle of a storm. What in the world are you talking about? As you see on the slide here, it reduced DoD presence at Black Hat and DEF CON in Aspen. Oh my God, I've always wanted to go to Aspen. I can't ski, but I've always wanted to go there. I just seen all the pictures, and it's probably not as romanticized as it's shown in the pictures, but it looks so cool. No pun intended. And that's the risk. The loss, as it says here on the slide, the loss of real-time public and private intel. A nation cannot survive without a private-public, public-private relationship. You don't have to believe me. Go look it up on the Wall Street Journal or Politico or anywhere online. Now, there are some public-private relationships I'm not a fan of, like the commissioning of these 5 tech executives as lieutenant colonels in the Army. I still don't understand that move. I just don't. I don't understand that move at all. So if the commanding general says, I'm giving you this direct order, and you go back to your board and you say, hey, I was ordered to, and the board says that goes against our policies, you're going to have to say no, or you're going to have to resign. Well, once you're in the military, I don't think you can just resign. At least I couldn't. I had a 4-year contract. I don't know what's in play there. But this whole idea of doing something different, doing something new, in my mind, has just gotten out of hand. When the risks are, I'm a risk adverse person. I don't like risk. You have to take some risk, but I don't like risk. We're taking a huge risk with commissioning these people who don't have any boot camp, any OCS training, never been on a mission, never been in a firefight, never commanded troops, and they're lieutenant colonels, which is a command level officer, 05. So that's a public-private relationship that I just don't get. But who am I? Like I said, I'm a simple country boy. I don't really know anything. I just go by my gut, and that my gut tells me that's going to bite us in the ass as well. Oh boy, let's see here. So the Pentagon retreat from these kind of events is a head scratcher. I don't want to get into the politics of this, but the leadership of the Pentagon has made some publicly poor mistakes. Signal, TikTok, I better stay away from that because it'll get into the political realm and opinions and this and that. I don't want that. I don't want that mark on me. Hell, the Pentagon might become a sovereign doctrine partner one day, and I may have to work with them. And I don't want this to come back and bite me. But those public things, they're public. And I have come up with 2 protocols that I can immediately think of. One is called TrustNet, and it keeps the intel flowing through secure corridors. And the other one is called Success Matrix, which scores readiness and collaboration levels continuously, because you have to. This is cyber. This is the cyber world. There's no breaks. There are no ceasefires. And all of this, by the way, is codified in my Cybersecurity Constitution. I just put out a what I call a black paper on the Cybersecurity Constitution. You can go to my website as well, Manuel W. Lloyd / cybersecurity-constitution. and read it. And I put it out on social media as well, LinkedIn, Twitter. I don't do Facebook and what's the other one? Instagram and Snapchat and all that stuff. TikTok. I'm not really interested in them. I might be missing out, but I'm just not interested in them. I never have been. Um, so that's my response to that. That's my doctrine's response. You don't cut off vital intel ever, ever. Even if you think the people are incompetent, you still can glean something from it. Let's go with story number 3. Nakasone's warning. The former NSA chief talks about his fears. My response to that is that, remember I told you there are 7 enclave types. And command enclaves and sovereign lines keep operations running regardless of who's in charge. Even my doctrine, unfortunately, knock on wood, if I fell off the scene today, if I got hit by a bus, it's codified in the Cybersecurity Constitution and could be operated. Doesn't take me to operate it. As a matter of fact, once you deploy InterOpsis, it's almost impossible to turn it off. You can, but not just anyone. And that goes through the adoption process where you get the keys and this and that to, or the knowledge to disable the system. But in a command enclave and sovereign lines are my answer to AT&T, Sprint, Deltacom, or is that what they're called now? Or they're called somebody else now. All their tier 1 carriers and even tier 2 CLEX. So all the LEX, local exchange carriers and competitive local exchange carriers who provide your private lines to you. They're not private. Even your D channel to your telco, you don't own it. Sovereign lines you own. They're yours. They are yours. Who says you can't run your own fiber? Who says you can't run your own DS switch? Who says you can't? My answer to that, to sovereignty at least, are sovereign lines. And see, all of these quote unquote acting directors or acting this and that, all swings with politics. Who's in charge? Who's in office? Is it a Democrat? Is it a Republican? Well, doctrine doesn't change with politics. It stays the same. You could try to change the doctrine, but mine has a logic flow to it. Try adding the internet as a mission critical interface to my doctrine and see what you come up with in your red team drills. Breach after breach after breach after breach. So if you have any good sense, you're going to go back to the original doctrine. Politicization undermines cyber posture. You need continuity beyond administrations. You can read about this story in Wired magazine or Wired online. We just talk about that, command enclaves and sovereign lines. And you can read about this specifically in my Cybersecurity Constitution, Article 8, resiliency and continuity. Now, this is a uh, part of the 5 things that I used to speak about. I talked about infrastructure, connectivity, mobility, performance, resilience, and continuity. And this was one of my favorite subjects. I did many speeches for critical infrastructure organizations. I don't think that I did any for government that I know of on resilience and continuity, but critical infrastructure organizations like electric companies, water companies, insurance companies, at the highest levels, anything that had to do with critical infrastructure over the country. I did keynote speeches for many of them, and this is one of my favorite topics because I see resilience and continuity like breathing. Once you stop breathing, you're dead. When your systems stop operating, your organization is dead. You can talk about MTO and RPO and all of that good jazz, but business continuity, disaster recovery shouldn't be the lowest thing on a totem pole. It should be an environment that's practiced, looked at, continuous service improvement all the time. And that's part of my makeup and framework within the InterOpsis framework. Let's talk about the next story, ransomware surge. 146% in attempts, and they shift from data theft to extortion. And I'll talk about that. And you can look at that up in Zscaler, Threat Labs, press online or in a publication. Ransomware up 146%. And why is the shift toward extortion and data theft? You ever heard of Q-Day? If you haven't, look it up. You ever heard of quantum computing? I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, look it up. So hackers are stealing data now and extorting. They're getting everything they can. Nation state hacking, criminal hacking. Because when Q-Day and quantum computing hit the fan, that encryption breaks within milliseconds. They probably can't break it now, or it'll take years to break. But with quantum computing, it'll take milliseconds. Are you prepared for Q-Day? Excuse me. Better be. And of course, I'm going to say my doctrine will prepare you. Not just because I'm trying to sell you something, but I just believe in it. Attackers don't care about encrypting anymore. They want to steal the data. They don't want to, what was that one called? I forget what it was, but you know, those little notices that your data is locked, and if you want to unencrypt it, here's the key, and you have to pay this in Bitcoin or whatever, crypto. They don't care about that. They know that once they can encrypt your data, they can have more leverage over you than just getting you to pay them $5 million or $10 million. I think the biggest ransom I've seen paid was $20 million. Foolish. And one might say, well, Manuel, you don't know what it's like not to be able to use your data. So $20 million is peanuts to us. Well, it shows your doctrinal failure. You never had doctrine in the first place. You didn't even have good common IT practices. Your backups were probably corrupt and never managed properly. You probably didn't have a DR environment. I remember a client of mine, a national port cargo containment organization, wanted to find a way to make their systems resilient. And I suggested to them, hey, what kind of DR are you interested in? And they were like, what do you mean? I said, well, we can do DRAS, disaster recovery as a service. It's not perfect because it's over the internet, but we can make it private. As private as possible. Because again, if you don't own the lines, if you don't own the internet, you don't own sovereignty. But that's as close as they could get to, because this idea that I have is very restrictive. It puts the spotlight on you to make decisions that are not popular, because people love their internet, man. They love it. Don't take my internet. And they refused it. And I refused them. I said, we can't work together. Your mindset is wrong. And I don't think that between the two of us, we're going to get along very well, because my mindset is completely different. I see ports as an entryway for nation state attacks. And you don't. This is to the leadership, C-level. And so we parted our ways. And one day I saw one of the project managers there that I was in circles with. And she says to me, hey, how you doing? She called me Manny. How you doing, Manny? I said, I'm doing good. How are you? She said, well, they did that thing you said. I said, what thing? I said a lot of things. She said they went to DRAS. They went to disaster recovery as a service, and it's working great. It gave us an immediate impact of what we were looking for. I said, that's great. She said, you're not mad? I was like, mad about what? It won't affect me unless they allow hackers through that affect my shipping of my groceries and goods and services. She said, well, I think they made a mistake in not listening to you then, because we're kind of behind the 8 ball now. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's another story, side story for you. If they can get your data, if they can exploit you, if they can take your nation down, destabilize your country with your data, which is possible with national security and critical infrastructure, then they got you by the new whats. Let's talk about the difference between this ransomware surge and my doctrine. Let me go to the next slide here. DNA sharding, data guarding, lifecycle. DNA sharding breaks data into useless chunks for attackers. Useless. And I have 2 more protocols that I've had fun with, Phoenix and Revive. And then there's Data Guardian. It's going to shred that data into chunks. It's useless. Data Guardian controls the data lifecycle from creation to destruction. Flash detects anomalies early, triggering quick strike. Flash stands for fast, lean, automated, secure, hacker resistant. It's a protocol. I had to come up with something. And it detects anomalies early, triggering quick strike, which is going to do the rest. Let's go to story number 5. And only 2 more stories after this. The FBI info complaints are up 9%. and infra meaning infrastructure, but infrastructure targeted ransomware is still the top threat for the FBI. A 9% increase in 1 year is not just a statistic, folks. It's a readiness warning. And people like me, there are many people like me out here who are trying to warn the country, trying to warn critical infrastructure leaders, trying to warn Fortune 500 companies, trying to warn defense contractors. Stop living by convenience. For you stockholders, first to market is going to get your ass in trouble because you're going to be first to market to be the first to go down. Have a balance. I'm not saying don't do what you do. I'm not smart enough to run a corporation like that. I swear I would hire the smartest people. I would hire the smartest people because I'm not that. So I respect you. But I do not respect your decisions when it comes to cybersecurity. I don't. When the United Healthcare breach came, if you recall, if you followed me, and I only have about 3,000 followers, so it wasn't a widespread message that probably got out there. But I warned probably about 6 months to a year that United Healthcare was heading for a fall. God knows I didn't know the CEO would get shot. I did not predict that. But I did predict a lot of anger from patients. And people say, well, that's an interesting angle. I said, just think about it. This is not just some store like Walmart or a big box like Home Depot or whatever. This is healthcare. And when people can't get cancer treatment, people can't get dialysis treatment, people can't get MRIs, CAT scans, it's not just about stealing the EPHI. I'm sorry, the PII. It's not about that. It's about real human beings are made up of, in my opinion, emotion, will, and intellect. We depend on these critical infrastructure organizations like healthcare to deliver what they promise. We literally depend on it. And when they can't deliver what they promise, sure, we get frustrated. We get upset. We don't like the prices. But people don't pay their bills, so they have to increase the price. But when you do something that's callous and stupid as lack of security because of convenience and first to market and your numbers, that's bullshit. And I hope I don't get a strike for that, but that's nonsense. Straight up. And this man, I forget what his name is, shot the CEO, which was dumb. I don't think he should have shot the CEO. I don't think he should have shot anyone because he couldn't get his treatment. He couldn't care less that it was a cyber breach. Furthest thing from his mind. I mean, I don't know what was in his mind, but as the story tells, has something to do with his back treatment that he got denied for. But you think that was the reason why? Or was it because they denied him because their systems got breached and they had to pay a hell of a lot of money that went elsewhere than treatments? And so they had to, I don't know. I'm just saying, it just seems a little that I warned that if these this United Healthcare continues with its lackadaisical ways, that it will have a profound impact on them physically. The cyber world turns into physical stuff for national security and critical infrastructure. It's always going to turn into physical stuff. Ransomware is still top infrastructure threat in 2024. You can look at that from Reuters and FBI summaries. But a 9% increase in 1 year, that's just not a statistic, folks. It's a readiness warning. And we've been warning you guys for a long time. Wake up. Wake the hell up. Let's map infrastructure threats to my doctrine. I have something called laws, which stands for land, air, water, and space enforcement. This covers every aspect. The doctrine layers every aspect of cyber terrain. And all these areas involve cyber terrain. The land does, the air does, the water does. Cabling, underwater cabling. You read about a cable being cut. They suspect Russia. They suspect Russia for everything. You know, I don't know. I'm not at that level. And then of course space, and from what I understand, I don't personally know, but from what I understand, Elon Musk is doing a great job with Starlink. I think I have something better, but who's going to believe me over Elon Musk, the richest man in the world? Time will tell. Then I have stealth, which is secure, tamper-proof enclave, um, air gap lockdown, threat resistant, and hardened air gap operational technology. In the terms of the corporate world, it's probably the most secure type of data center you could have, and it doesn't have to be a building. It could be in a metal box that's out in the field on a military op. And then I have Revive for failover. Like I told you, I love failover. I love continuity. I love to breathe. And Revive is the oxygen of your organization. You can't live without breathing. Story 6. Almost done, folks, with these stories. St. Paul deploys the National Guard. Get that through your head now. St. Paul deploys and activates the National Guard. A cyber attack forces Minnesota to activate the National Guard. A cyber attack. This is what happens when resilience is reactive instead of built in. I don't know. I would say the term I can talk to, I'm blue in the face, but it would be hard to tell because I'm a black guy. Oh, God. I'm blushing now, but you can't tell. Anyway, somebody's going to get offended by that, I'm sure. But major municipal disruption. EOC and National Guard Cyber Unit. You can read about this in the Minnesota Governor Executive Order, Reuters, and the Guardian. They all reported it. And who's that? Is that Walt? What's his name? Walsh? Waltz. Governor Waltz. Take the politics out of this, folks. Dem City, Republican City. That has nothing to do with it. You think the Chinese care whether you're Republican or Democrat unless it suits their goal? They're communists, aren't they? I mean, You think nation states, you think Iran cares? Other than if it suits whatever suits their goals. They care about the destabilization of America. And you might say, well, what does one state have to do with it? Every damn thing. Because you get this state now, you get that state or that city later, these smart cities, you have China buying up technology that runs smart cities. What? What are we doing? What are we doing? We're outsourcing our sovereignty, is what we're doing. And that scares me. So it seems like my nightmare was 30 years early because it's happening right now. Let's talk about city resilience and my doctrine. I have these recovery enclaves, like I mentioned before, revive. It's a flip over. Recovery enclave means you flip over and keep operating. Today I've had the hiccups on my call on this live stream. And for that moment that I hiccuped up, or is that the right word? I couldn't breathe. It was slight, but I couldn't breathe. But my body responded in a way to help me stay alive, obviously. Then there's my favorite, my girl, Phoenix, handles post-breach restoration, rises from the ashes. I say my girl because, I'm a big Marvel fan. I love the Marvel comics. I wonder if the MCU is going to have a comeback to that Phoenix episode from X-Men. She was scary at the end there. She was really scary. Anyway, let's move on to story number 7. Iran linked threat bulletin. Joint alert. CISA, FBI, NSA, DC3. Stay vigilant despite ceasefire. You can read about this on CISA advisories, Reuters, and the AP. Now, I give CISA a lot of hell online. And I'll be honest with you. The reason why I give them hell now is because I never said anything to them before. But when they had that VPN fiasco where they were warning about a VPN, and I won't say the name of the VPN, but they were saying how it was exported, but yet they failed to mention how they were exported too, because they used that same VPN tool, appliance. That bothered me. It gave me signs of corruption and hypocrisy. So now I look at them side eye, as we say in my community. I look at them side eye. I really do. But they're doing some good things still. And I think it's a tragedy talking about defunding them. I think instead of defunding them, they should repurpose their mission. Like the other day, they put out a post about the LinkedIn verification badge. I almost fell out of my chair like, this is what my tax dollars are going to, for you to promote LinkedIn's promotion badge or verification badge. I know what they were going for, to try to warn you, but that's not what I want you to warn me about. I want you to warn me about national security and critical infrastructure. Isn't that what's part of your name? What in the hell does a LinkedIn verification badge have to do with critical infrastructure? You guys are making it easy for them to defund you. Show some value other than here's a badge that you need to look out for to make sure that this person you're talking to is verifiable. Who in the hell cares when it comes to national security and critical infrastructure? Now, if you're a job seeker and you're looking at these so-called recruiters that are recruiting. See, they got like 2 followers, and they don't have a verification. But it might make a difference to you. But to someone like me, I'm, and I think I have a verification badge. But for someone like me, what's going on in the world? Like your bulletin about Microsoft Exchange server, that is more important to me than a damn verification badge. So, since the FBI, NSA, and DC3 warned of these ongoing Iranian cyber threats, despite the ceasefire, and don't be fooled, everything you see in the media, you really can't believe. Use your common sense. Remember, I told you I'm a country boy. I'm very simple. I keep it simple. You should always follow the money and always follow the power trail. Everybody who seems innocent may not be. And everybody who seems to be a threat may not be. Don't go by what you hear. Don't ignore your gut. Adversaries don't take peace breaks. They take recon breaks. There's no ceasefire in the cyber world. You can forget that. It's too convenient, once again. And our obsession with the internet makes it easy for our adversaries. Makes it easy. Let's talk about the Iranian threat in my doctrine. The way my doctrine will deal with this is quick strike, elevated posture, and stealth isolation, TrustNet access, and policy enforcement. QuickNet keeps readiness high, and stealth isolation and TrustNet access control contains the threat. There's probably not a issue that I haven't covered within my doctrine. And when I do find another issue, because I'm constantly, every single day, every moment I can, every time I'm awake, think about what if, to try to break my doctrine, to try to break my thinking, to try to break my process, to try to break my architecture. I'm always doing that. And I ask others to do it. I ask you to do it. Break it. Please. And I've tried, and I came up with it. I've even wrote an article, if I were a hacker, here's how I would break InterOpsis. And I couldn't. Not my genius necessarily, it's just logic. It's like science to me. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. That's simple. We try to make the internet and technology so complicated. Now, I think coding can be complicated, writing AI can be complicated, but when it comes to networking, it's pretty simple. There are components, and there's 7 layers of the OSI model. Yeah, we get that. But at the end of the day, that top layer of the OSI model, the presentation layer, I think it is, that's where all the problems seem to happen. You can go to the bottom layer, I think it's the electric layer, but some breachers, they don't even have to get that far. So, excuse me, I'm yawning here. Not because I'm bored. I'm just tired. I've been doing a lot of live streams here lately, and it's draining. But our sensation with the internet has gotten us into trouble. However, we can flip the script on our adversaries. And the way we do that, use the internet as a honeypot. The public internet is not an operational platform. It's not. It is, and should be for you, it is for me, a deception terrain. Operations run in enclaves in my world. The internet exists to catch and study attackers. What greater place to have a honeypot than the internet? It is so easy. So easy. Your internet should be a deception terrain, your public internet. And anything operational needs to be enclaved. I have what's called multi-net security, a multi-net security framework. There's 6 different networks. The internet is included as one of them. There's CI net or critical infrastructure net, government net for government-related connectivity, BizNet for Fortune 500s, AI net for all AI research and processes, DarkNet 2.0, and the public internet. And I have something called Bridge Guards, which allows controlled, policy-driven communication. No loosey-goosey stuff. My protocols. These are just a few that I have listed on the screen here. I see they didn't put all of them, but there's about 30 of them. But these are the main ones: DNA, Stealth, TrustNet, AegisAI, Revive, Flash, and Phoenix. But it's also Quick Strike, Quantum Guard, Data Guardian, Revive, Data Vault. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different protocols, about 30 of them, I think. Every protocol is a mission role, every single one. Yes, I put a lot of thought into this. 30 years worth. 30 years worth. You won't get no AI being able to write my doctrine. They may be able to parrot it. You can feed these slides into AI and say, hey, who made this up? Maybe they'll tell you. I mean, I think I was told that Grok now recognizes me, and Google AI does as well. I don't know if GPT recognizes me or not. I'll have to check that. I'll have to go check that and ask them, do you know who Manuel W. Lloyd is? And see what they say. I have to make sure I'm not on a login that they see who I am. But can you do that? I guess you could publicly go to Twitter. No, you have to log into Twitter for Grok. Anyway, I'd be interested to see. Why don't y'all tell me? You log in and see what they say about Zero Doctrine and the Cybersecurity Constitution and GECaBi and Manuel Lloyd. Now, my son's name is Manuel Lloyd too, so he's got his own world. He's got his own media company, as a matter of fact. So you might find him. I don't know, but he's obviously better looking than me. So if you see a picture of him and me, we look totally different. He's a young man. I'm an old man. Anyway, how long have we gone here? Because I want to be mindful of your time. This is scheduled for 2 hours, but I don't know if I need to go 2 hours. Maybe we'll get some questions. We'll see. Let's talk about the next thing. My doctorate audit, first 30 days. Hey, speaking of doctrine audit, I have a 10-minute doctrine audit you can do. And I just posted on social media the questions. There's 10 questions to see if you have doctrine or solid doctrine. It gives you a score, and then you do with that score whatever you feel like you need to do. I give you some suggestions. And if you can't find it online, go to my website. I don't know if we have a search tool on my website. I have to check with those folks about that. I have to see. But the first 30 days of a doctrine audit segment assets by mission immediately. This is my doctrine audit. Disconnect operational technology from the public internet, and we stand up a recovery enclave. Everything is carefully done. Remember, I enjoy breathing, and I don't enjoy not letting my sovereign doctrine partners, what you may call a client, breathe. So I'm not there to take away your breath. I'm there to revive you, to give you a breath of fresh air. So that's what happens in the first 30 days. Um, then we have the success matrix variance bulletins. They have readiness scoring, and variance triggers, and sprint remediation. They measure the readiness constantly, and they trigger remediation sprints before attacker strikes. And speaking of that, it goes into my tabletop exercises that I call SecureTrain. You can simulate a St. Paul breach. Make sure it doesn't happen to your city. You can run an Iran link campaign hunt. You can even test AI XCC grade patching inside AINet. Okay. These are tabletop exercises that you can do. And depending upon your size of your organization, I would even give you one complimentary. Some people have asked me, and I'm not the biggest fan of this, but my advisors told me I need to be. You can become a sovereign. I'm sorry, that was the wrong. I was thinking about OEM partners. This is the sovereign doctrine partner. And I definitely want this. We have some now, but I want more because, again, my mission is to protect the nation. So to become a sovereign doctrine partner, you need to do a pilot first, a sovereign doctrine pilot. We start small. We give you the scope, the blueprint, the pilot, and then we scale. Pilot partners get operational sovereignty first. The bulletins that we put out, the Zero Doctrine bulletins we put out, you'll know exactly what to do in case of a situation, just like we did with the Microsoft Exchange server here recently. Objections and answers. What is this slide about? Cloud? Well, if you're using the cloud, use sovereign cloud inside of enclaves. It can be done. You don't need the internet to do that. You might say, well, how, Manuel? How do you get from here to Afghanistan? There's a way to do it in an air gap fashion. People look at me and say, surely this is going to cost a lot of money. Well, that goes with how you look at downtime and after effect. Do the downtime math versus my revive. You might lose a day or two in uptime or restoration, because I don't know if I believe in restoring something back to a failed state with no doctrine behind it. However, we can restore, and it may take a day or two longer to restore. And if you're under the Zero Doctrine, if you're doing it the conventional way, you may be able to restore within, I don't know, a few hours. But then you'll go down again, restore it back, go down again, restore it back. So at the end of the day, You went up and down over the past 30 days. You do the math. What would you prefer? 2 days and it's done, or 30 days and you don't know? That seems like an easy decision to me. So here are your calls to action. You can book a doctrinal brief. You can schedule a SecureTrain simulation. You can request the Constitution and annexes. You don't even have to request it. You can just go online and read it. I've just put up a whole page, manuelwlloyd.com/Constitution, or cybersecurity-Constitution. And you can find out anything about this, because this is all I talk about now. Just using, the at Manuel W. Lloyd. And with that, I want to thank you for listening. For me, this is a mission, not a product. I want to secure your digital sovereignty. And you can reach out to me at manuelwlloyd.com. You can call me 910-685-2223. You can email me, Manny, MANNY, at manuelwlloyd.com. You can hit me up on social media. Twitter and LinkedIn are my choices. Or you can fill out the contact form on my website. I even have a live feed chat on my website where you can speak to me immediately. I'm not a big operation. I used to have a lot of employees, a whole bunch of employees, right around about, a couple hundred, and 10,000 subcontractors across the country, Australia and the UK. Not for this. I had a company called Geeks in a Flash that I created, and I franchised it, and I really didn't like that. It took away the personal touch, and I'm more of a personal touch kind of guy. Who knows? I might have to go back to a model of a bunch of employees and things of that nature. Right now, I'm just one guy blowing in the wind. And I'm hoping that this catches on, because it's more than about my mission. It's about your mission. And if your mission is to protect the country, if your mission is to provide, and it should be, if you're a national defense, critical infrastructure, your mission should be to provide protection and support and comfort to the American people. Now, I know I've been accused of being nationalistic, but this goes for any country. You should think about your sovereignty. I don't agree with all the ideologies that are out there. I don't have the same worldview as many, not just in other countries, but even in this country. And that's okay. That's what makes us a free country here in America. I served my time in the military. I was a taxpaying citizen. I wasn't a criminal, and no angel by any means. I'm just a regular guy. I'm a country boy. I like simple things. I've gotten to like coffee now. I probably shouldn't like it. I spent a lot of time in coffee shops. But I like local stuff. I prefer local eateries, local coffee shops. I believe in supporting the small business or gal. But let me know what you think about this 2-hour format. I mean, it didn't go 2 hours, but let me know what you think about these multiple news formats and me giving my take on them, and also giving you my doctrinal overview on what we can do to protect this country. And if you know the president, President Trump, get me in front of him. I've tried to talk to presidents since Clinton about this. They probably just see me as a dumb country bumpkin. Fine. This is going to happen. The world will go to doctrine. Cybersecurity demands it, just like war fighting demanded it. Cyber war is going to demand it. And you can say, I remember a guy talking about this 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 50 years ago. That guy's going to be me. And I hope, with all due diligence, that someone out there listening cares about the sovereignty of national security in the area of cyber defense. They say data is the new oil, and that's cute. I've even said something similar. Oil has borders. Gold has borders. And even the US dollar has borders, has sovereignty. Why does our cybersecurity, why is it not sovereign? Because right now it's not. And all of these leaders in these different agencies, you need to wake up. Holler at a brother. I'll be happy to talk with you, do a doctrinal brief. No sweat. You won't find this. This is not white label. This is not a vendor like Ingram Micro or Tech Data. This is all me. This is all Manuel W. Lloyd. I'm the source. I can talk to you all day about it. So give me a holler. I will talk to you guys on the next one. Hopefully we'll do another one. This has been fun for me. You take care, and let me see if I have any questions. Hold on a second before I leave you. Well, I don't have any questions there. I don't have any. I'm multicasting here, I guess, or broadcasting. I'm doing this on several different platforms. Turn this volume down here. See if I have it on YouTube. I'm on YouTube as well. I have any questions. If I do, I don't see them, so I apologize to you. I'm an old man, so I move slow. Okay. Well, I don't see any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. And again, I want to thank you for listening to this to this 2 hour live stream. It went by quickly. And oh, wait a minute, there's a comment. Show up. No. Oh. Gotcha. Okay. Anyway, that's it. That's for the stream, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care, and I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. May all your dreams come true. Manuel Lloyd. This has been Zero Doctrine Live.